All right, today on The Explainer, we're diving into Brazil. It's a giant of the Southern Hemisphere, a country with just immense potential, but maybe even bigger contradictions. It's got everything it needs to be a global heavyweight. But here's the real question we're asking. Is Brazil a true power, or is it just stuck in the fantasy of being one? Okay, let's get into it. I mean, on the world stage, Brazil for sure acts like a power, right? It's got this massive economy, a huge population, and, it was a founding member of the BRICS alliance. That group was set up as a potential counterweight to American influence. So you can see, Brazil has these big ambitions. It wants to lead, and it demands to be seen as an equal by pretty much every other nation on Earth. And there's the catch. This is the central paradox we're going to unpack. Because for all those big external ambitions, Brazil is just consumed by these deep, deep internal fights. We're talking political, judicial, social, all of it. And these conflicts are constantly threatening to, well, literally tear the country apart from the inside and just totally undermine its standing in the world. So where does this internal war even begin? Well, it really kicks off with a political divide that's so deep it has completely fractured the country. And honestly, the best way to understand this story is to look at two very bitter rivals. Okay, you just can't get a grip on modern Brazil without understanding these two guys. First, on one side, you've got the current president, Lula da Silva. He's this left-wing icon, but his legacy is, well, it's complicated. He had this huge corruption conviction that was later thrown out on a technicality. Then, on the other side, you've got the right-wing populist Jair Bolsonaro. And guess what? He's now facing his own legal storm, which his supporters swear is just a political move to stop him from ever running again. You see, it's this incredibly bitter personal fight, and it basically defines all of Brazilian politics right now. And this timeline, wow, it just perfectly shows the sheer political whiplash we're talking about. I mean, think about it. In just a handful of years, the country goes from jailing a former president to electing that same guy again. And all the while, the whole system seems to be shifting its focus to basically take his main rival off the board. This isn't just normal politics. It's a dangerous cycle of political revenge that's making the entire system unstable. Now, here's where things get even messier. A really key player in all this drama is the judiciary. The source material we're looking at points to this widespread feeling, this perception that the head of the Supreme Court isn't a neutral referee. Instead, he's seen as an active political partner to President Lula, accused of helping him get back into power and going after his enemy. And that perception, it has fueled an absolute crisis of faith. Public trust in the justice system is said to be basically zero. Remember Lava Jato, the giant car wash investigation? It was supposed to be this huge deal, promising a new age of accountability in Brazil. Well, its legacy has been systematically taken apart. The fallout is so bad that some top judges are actually facing U.S. sanctions, like visa bans. So the big takeaway here is just massive. The one institution that's supposed to be above it all, the one meant to uphold the law, is now seen by tons of people as just another political weapon. Okay, so with everything at home in such a state of crisis, how does Brazil even try to project power on the world stage? Well, it walks what you could only call a global tightrope. It's this super delicate and often contradictory balancing act. First up, let's follow the money. Look, Brazil has a complicated relationship with the U.S. for sure, but its number one most important trading partner, that's China. No contest. Beijing is buying up enormous amounts of Brazilian soybeans, iron ore, you name it. And that gives China huge economic leverage, pulling Brazil deeper and deeper into its sphere of influence. And if you want to understand the Brazilian foreign policy mindset, you have to look at this thing called the reciprocity doctrine. It's fascinating. So when the U.S. started requiring visas and fingerprints for Brazilians to enter, Brazil turned around and immediately imposed the exact same rules on Americans. But, and here's the killer detail, the equipment they set up to fingerprint Americans, well, sources say it was never even plugged in. It was all for show. Pure political theater. Just to send a single powerful message. We are your equals. And this desire for a world with multiple powers, not just one, is exactly why Brazil is such a key member of BRICS. Its partnership with Russia and China in that group puts it in a tricky spot. Especially now with all this geopolitical tension, It constantly puts Brazil at odds with the US and the West. It forces them to walk that very, very fine line we were talking about. So it's not just the politics. Brazil's economies is the exact same story. It's a tale of incredible strength, constantly wrestling with just profound weakness. I mean, on paper, the Brazilian economy looks like an absolute powerhouse. It's an agricultural giant that helps feed the world. It's a major oil exporter, thanks to its massive state company Petrobras. It even has a world-class aerospace industry with companies like Embraer, right? This is the engine that's supposed to be driving that superpower dream. But for every one of those strengths, there's a serious weakness pulling it right back down. You've got constant inflation and what the source material calls endemic corruption just eating away at the system. Those same giant state companies, they're often horribly mismanaged for political reasons. And then, lurking just below all that are these really deep social problems. We're talking powerful organized crime, high illiteracy. All of these things are like anchors, just holding the country back. Okay, but maybe the single biggest threat to its future, the most critical one on the horizon, is this. In a world where AI is about to change everything, productivity, power, you name it, Brazil is basically a non-player. It has almost zero meaningful AI development happening inside the country. And that technology gap, it could turn into a massive chasm, and fast. As the US starts restricting access to those super advanced computer chips for geopolitical reasons, a country like Brazil could get completely left behind. Think about it. Without the basic building blocks of AI, its entire economy risks falling permanently behind the rest of the developed world. So, this all brings us back to the big question. When you add everything up, the political paralysis, the economic contradictions, that huge looming tech gap, what does the future actually hold for Brazil? Look, Brazil has it all. The resources, the people, the ambition, all the makings of a global superpower. But as long as it stays a nation at war with itself, just paralyzed by these political rivalries and held back by this deep institutional rot, its dream of finally taking a leading role on the world stage might be destined to stay exactly what it is right now, just a fantasy. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.